I'm Brian Winian, I'm the lead character artist at Tripwire Interactive.
I'm Jared Creasy, and I'm the community manager at Tripwire Interactive.
So you guys are making a shark game, which is very... I can't believe there hasn't been a shark game since... I think Jaws Unleashed was the last shark game someone ever made. Why is it taking so long for someone to make a killer shark game?
We asked ourselves that very same question, and we also asked ourselves, when's the last time you played an open world action game where you, the player, are a shark? And the answer was never.
I think Jaws... But that wasn't open world, though. Jaws Unleashed, it was linear, yeah.
Yeah. I would say Alex Quick and his team, which worked with us on Maneater, he did depth before that, which was a lot of fun, but that was more like multiplayer style and stuff like that, but that definitely fulfilled some of that kind of shark gamer fantasy element.
So talk about your game. What are you doing in this game? Obviously, you play a shark.
You're playing a shark who's kind of on a mission of revenge. Starting as a small pup, you want to be one of the apex predators of the sea on your journey of revenge because something horrific has happened at the start of our game, let's say, and you're not happy about that. And being the shark that you are, you're going to bring an end to this situation. So that's your motivation, but along the way, you're a shark. To be one of those apex predators, you need to eat, grow, and evolve. And that's going to help send our shark through this murky underwater world and along her journey.
Yeah, you've been horribly disfigured in one sense, which kind of helps distinguish our player shark from the other sharks in the world. It makes you more of a character than just a shark. But yeah, you definitely have some agendas on your list and probably a list of names that you are trying to cross out on your journey to become this apex predator.
So do you play as the shark throughout the entire game? Are there different classes of shark, different skins of sharks?
You're playing the player shark throughout the game, but there are different ways to evolve your shark and grow your shark. So we'd like to say your shark can grow beyond what nature intended, both in terms of size and in terms of evolutions. There are things that we're looking at like, oh, you can enhance your teeth to be more effective against this, or you can enhance your gills so you can be out of the water longer. Or as we touched on in the panel, we're also looking at things that we call the evolutionary skin sets, where your shark can really, took a turn off what the path nature made, and now you're in a very different area. Like, what if sharks had bones? What if those bones allowed you to ram into things and destroy them like boats much more efficiently? Or what if your shark was an electro-based shark with like more sensory and the ability to perhaps stun other things around it? Or what if your shark was the stealthiest thing in the water, and by the time you realize the limb was missing, she's already gone? Yeah.
Yeah, we have essentially 5 versions of the shark that you can have, and as character art goes, we build 5 unique models so that you see this growth progression over time. You start off as the pup, we have a teen, we have adult, and then we have 2 other ones that you will be able to grow to that we're not going to say much about yet. We'll kind of let you discover those as the player. But then as Jared was saying, the evolutions, we really tried to design things that really helped you fulfill that sensation of being a sea monster, essentially, and like what havoc can you wreak on the world with this tool set that you have as the player.
As a character artist, is it easier when you have actually reference in the real world to model off of, and are there challenges in making that different from the real world model, but still being, a shark?
Yeah, I think for us it was like trying to find out, like even with the player shark, we knew at one point we didn't want to do just a bull shark. We didn't want it to be this kind of scientific approach. So in all honesty, our player shark is somewhat stylized, and we kind of borrowed elements from most popular things we'd see in the world. There's a little bit of great white in there, there's a little bit of tiger shark in there, and then but obviously the bull shark, it's brackish, meaning that it can move from freshwater to sea very easily. That's what we wanted to go with. And they also have a really distinct cat-like eye that at one point we didn't have. It was in a very early version, and then we went with something more with kind of that black doll-like eyes, and we noticed that to really sell the bull shark aspect, having that cat-like eye was really beneficial, and it also made it a little bit more unique.
What have you guys learned from Killing Floor series that you've applied and brought into this game?
Well, this game is one of our first big single-player story-driven games, but there are elements of both the sort of gory humor where the game has some grounding in reality, but at the same time it's stylized. We're not taking ourselves too seriously, and a lot of that is translating over well into Maneater. So our game is told through the lens of a reality TV show because our shark can't speak for herself. So our narrator of the show, as voiced by Chris Parnell, is acting as the voice of our shark. And along the way, sometimes he has some fun shark facts. Some of them are real, some of them aren't. And it just feel like I could sense that going over well with, our Killing Floor fans and things like that. Yeah. And just there's a lot of things that we didn't expect would work quite so well together, but they just really have, and we love it.
Yeah, this is not like an educational approach to sharks. It's trying not to take ourselves too seriously and have fun with it. So, I mean, even when we were designing and building the swimmers, we needed to find a way to slightly stylize them so you didn't feel like you want to feel strong and powerful, but you don't want to just feel like this merciless murder machine eating people on vacation. So that's why we gave him a little bit of a backstory, and he's just doing his environmental cleanup on the area. That's right.
You're in her territory.
Yes, you are definitely in her, and that's the biggest thing we wanted to sell is, you're in her area, and then even when you're the smaller predator in the area, that you are working to really build that area to be the area that
you're working to claim it for yourself. As growing from a pup, one of your goals is to be the apex predator of apex predators in the Gulf.
The ocean's a large place. Other than humans and other sharks, will we see squid, octopus, other predators, large whales?
We showed today a sperm whale, an apex sperm whale.
He looked a little bit angry.
He's very angry, yes. Definitely had been abused by mankind and whatnot, and he had his own vendetta. We have seals, we have turtles, we have a wide variety of fish that you would see in the inner cove and a wide variety of fish that you would see in something like the deep ocean. We showed some images today of like a grouper that you would find more in like the inner cove of the kind of the Gulf area, and then the coral grouper. So that really helped character art, where we had species that had essentially different textures and slightly different models that we could use to really help populate the world very quickly.
But you are not the only predator in these waters. There's other sharks, there's other predators out there like crocodiles, alligators, and that's not all. Among those predators, there are what we call the 7 kings of the sea, the 7 apex predators, whose regions you'll be encroaching on throughout the game, and they may get upset at you at some point and decide to come pick a fight.
So talk about like the level design, because the water has a lot of verticality, but when you're in a game where you have to be in water, there always has to be like a canal or a fjord or something. They're getting away, and there's always a fjord.
Yeah, there's each one of our 7 regions is pretty unique in look and feel. That's both in and out of the water, and that's something our level designers have done a great job with, because they're essentially building 2 worlds, the underwater and the above water. And at any point, our player shark can transition between them, just during exploration or combat. And it has to run well, and it has to look good, and you have to really understand where you are based on those cues around you. The tonal colors of the water, the type of creatures you're seeing, the wildlife and the fauna you're seeing will change as you go through different areas. And it really just helps cement the areas as, okay, I'm in this region now. Like, let's say you were playing a game like Skyrim. You're like, okay, you start off here in this small little area, we're about to have your head chopped off. And then you're like, but we just transitioned to this snowy mountaintop fortress, and now I know this is a very different area. And we're working to capture that sort of same feel as you transition around our world as your shark.
Yeah, I think the environment team and the level design team, they did a really good job. One thing that you can kind of see in some of the footage that we've shown is almost like a sewer system that can connect areas. And I really enjoy swimming through those areas because it's a nice way to explore that area. And then if you do get into some encounters in that area, it definitely makes it pretty stressful in these kind of like enclosed areas.
Sorry, I'm thinking this land shark now. Land shark knocking on the door. Revenge shark. So underwater games are notorious for having kind of clunky controls. Obviously, games like Subnautica, you're like a diver or you're in some kind of vehicle. There's not that many games where you're a fish. Talk about how you're controlling the shark and how you make it fun and not like frustrating.
So every single day, if not more often, like the team's iterating on how the shark's moving. That's like at the core of the game, is the shark needs to feel good both in and out of combat and transitioning between the two, and the controls just need to work in any given situation. And that's why we've given our shark the capabilities that she has to a large degree. Because sharks, they swim, they jump, they bite things. And that's awesome. but that's about all a normal shark is doing on a day-to-day basis. So our shark can do a little bit more. When she's jumping, she has different types of jumps she can do. She can whip things with her tail in and out of water. She can hold things with her mouth and then use her tail to whip it out and use that as an attack, giving her more versatility. And that will change depending on what she's decided to put in her mouth. To different effects, like tossing barrel bombs back at a boat that was tossing them at her, or just, playing with her food and whipping a sea turtle out and, whacking somebody off a boat with it.
You guys ready for the loaded question? Can you swim backwards?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. I'm just. No, what? What? This is supposed to be grounded in realism.
Even internally, that was like this huge debate, and I remember like there were certain people that were hardcore, like this is not happening. But I think in any game development, there needs to be that time to iterate and try things. And there's stuff that we tried that didn't work. But our design and animation department has done an incredible job at exploring things, presenting to the team, and then taking that feedback to where we're at something that feels pretty fun. And it still feels natural, but you don't feel restrained by what, like I was saying, even the player shark is somewhat an exaggeration of what a shark is. Her movements will be the same as well.
Yeah, when you're making a game, even if it is grounded in realism, you got to say, is this fun? And if it's not fun, you just got to take it out.
There's always some part of a game that is either fantastical or presented in a way that isn't quite so realistic. Even our realistic franchise, Red Orchestra, there are steps we have to take to make that more of a game. And those are things like, I'm calling in this artillery call. All right, so wait the next 4 hours. By the time that gets through the command and the artillery call comes in, this game will have been over. So there's things where you have to look at what makes sense for the game, no matter what feel you're going for, from fantastical to more grounded and realistic or anywhere in between. Those are sometimes hard decisions to make, but sometimes making them is the difference between what makes a game good to great.
Going back to the character design of the shark, it's funny that you said you wanted to make it look different than other bull sharks, so you gave it like a kind of like a revenge, like a mutation or like some kind of like, damage. The director for Jaws 2 said that verbatim. He wanted to show the shark a lot and he wanted to make it look different, so they had this burn scene in the beginning where he has all this charred flesh and it makes him look even more terrifying. Was that some of the inspiration for changing the shark as well? Or?
Yeah, I'm not, I don't want to give away too much, but I will say Jaws 2, I already as a massive fan of those films and of sharks in general, it's funny, I think Jaws is a fantastic movie, but as far as what inspired Maneater the most out of that franchise, Jaws 2 was massive. Jaws 2 and then the film Orca. There was a lot of mid-70s, 80s like nature versus mankind movies that we poured over a lot, and as kind of a film fan, I really enjoyed being able to chance to look at that, and then it really showed how nerdy I was having to point out to the team, well, in Jaws 2, there was a cable bite that has caused this, and yeah. It still always confused me in Jaws 2, though, where the woman's just, pouring gasoline on herself. This will help. Yeah, right. But it makes for an interesting result, and that we definitely found very inspiring, and I'm sure the players will experience similar situations in Maneater.
So, favorite shark movie and why?
So...
Obviously you have Jaws, but there's other shark movies.
I keep answering this. My favorite shark movie isn't so much a shark movie. It's my favorite shark in a movie, and it's the shark in Finding Nemo.
Bruce.
Yeah. Bruce 2.0.
That's funny.
Yeah.
He's a funny character.
He is a funny character.
Because they're rogues. They abandon your young. He makes a joke about that. Yeah. And then they only need to eat once a week, and he makes jokes about that as well. So it's funny. Yeah.
So that's mine, and his is much more. Here's a shark movie. That's a shark movie.
Yeah, I like a lot of shark movies, and obviously I would always say Jaws and Jaws 2 and whatnot. But one movie that we referenced a lot during the creation was The Shallows, I believe it's called, with Blake Lively.
Yeah.
So that had some really cool stuff, and they had an amazing behind-the-scenes feature that really broke down these super high-level VFX shots of how they created this shark, and that had some pretty cool kills in it as well. As far as let's be honest, why are most people watching shark movies? It's that anticipation, and that shark does some serious damage. It's pretty big, and they did a good job of taking what is essentially just a fish and giving it a level of character to it that made it pretty unique. And you could really tell what its intentions were. So we referenced that a lot, and to be honest, I kind of enjoyed it. It's not Jaws. Shark movies are hard because there's one that is so far above and beyond the others that everyone kind of forgets about the rest. But if you haven't seen it, yeah, exactly. So I do suggest watching it, It's hard to hold it next to Jaws, but it's still a fun movie to watch.
Would you guys have a release date yet, and what platforms will it be on?
We've announced for PC on the Epic Games Store. As far as release date, our target is before E3 rolls around next year, though we'll probably have some more news on that soon, I've been told repeatedly. So we'll pass that along.
Any plans for Nintendo Switch?
We've announced
There we go.
for the PC at this time
There we go.
is
There
my
we go.
official answer.
I'm just an artist, yeah. I'm glad you did not stick the mic in my face. I was like, I just make sharks, man.